One, Matt Anderson here. Just wanted to follow up regarding a couple emails that I had received from different individuals and their asks and just about the whole process, of buying a business versus starting a business. And if you go the route of buying a business, where do you start with? And there's a lot of things and there's a lot of moving parts, and we want to keep it simple. Um, because there are a lot of complexities that go along with this. Um, and so I mean sometimes you live, and you're doing deals, or you're going after deals, and it's a process and it's a learning process, right? And you're either going to succeed or you're going to learn. Um, and those learning moments, we want to count as learning moments instead of failures, right? And so I just like to hash on a couple points here. When we do deals, we like to bypass the brokers. Okay. Now it doesn't mean necessarily going around a broker or going behind their back or anything like that. But when I say bypass a broker, sometimes if an owner is signed on to work with a broker in any way, sometimes I just say, hey, I hope it works out. If nothing works out by the time they're done with that exclusivity contract they have with the broker, reach out to me, okay? Because a lot of times I won't touch it. How can you bypass a broker, um, or how can you find deals where brokers aren't involved? Well, you're gonna have to go out and you're gonna have to do a little digging. There's no way around it, over it, or through it. You just got to do the work, okay? Um, and being able to have that freedom and to be able to already be over that hump of what these businesses have been started, kind of had to push through all the years, you're buying into the point where they're past that. Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's all hunky dory and there's nothing that needs to be done. Get the right people on the bus and then start moving that bus forward. But that's part of the due diligence of where can you create value, putting the right people in the right spot. If you can, you focus on businesses that are at least 10, if not 15 plus years older. Also, again, to bring in that net, because most likely you're going to come in on an owner that's a baby boomer. Um, they're probably within 10 years or less of retirement. And so the majority of my conversations where I search for businesses that are 10 plus or 15 plus years old, yeah, I was thinking about that, Matt. It's a good question. Or I would like to retire, here in the next couple of years. Um, yeah, I have thought about acquisition. No, I thought about selling it to my employees. I wasn't sure selling was an option to anyone on the outside. And so it's just a matter of having these conversations. Some owners have definitely thought about selling. Others are too busy working within the business that they haven't thought about selling. Um, and so I spoke to a business owner, for example, the other day, one that we had made an offer to advise, not specifically purchase the business, but to advise to help grow the business and receive equity. And that's something else we can talk about here in a future segment here. Um, but speaking to him, he just had made two bad decisions, two poor decisions, and rolled the dice on two individuals at two separate times in the point of the company over a span of, I want to say, at least 5 years. And this was for a sales position within the company. And he said these people were duds. They did super well where they were at, and he poached them from other companies. He poached them, recruited them over to work for him. Um, and and with that being said, they were duds. His sales suffered. But they didn't only suffer because the individual, they suffered because he is a nice guy. And it doesn't mean you can't be a nice guy and be in this business, but he kept giving these individuals, oh, it's all right. They'd give them a sob story or an excuse of, it got to the point where they were bringing in, a therapy pet with them to work and things like that. And again, we're not getting political. There's nothing wrong with that. However, when it gets to the point where it starts to interfere with your work and your performance, that owner he just wasn't cut out to cut the cord to let either of those individuals go. Again, these were two separate times, one after the other. And even the skills of being able to see any of those red flags in the hiring process was really a detriment to him. And he realizes that that's a weakness. All he wants to do and what he knows he does best and what he has done best in the past is that he goes out and does the selling. Okay. And he wants to retire in 5 years and he just wants a portion of the company, right? Now, what he wants is he wants someone to come in and take over the administrative tasks for him, right? The hiring, the firing, moving things around, the day-to-day. He wants someone else to take those over, to work on growing the business, and he just wants to work on bringing in the business, along with acquisitions as growth along the way. And so, here to come in the future, we could talk more about this and what's going on, and maybe kind of take you through this process as we're working the deal and everything. But really, it was an eye opener for him. I went into this business. I was good at selling. I love the business, but I didn't go to school, nor am I trained to do the hiring, the administrative tasks. A lot of these things he's had to take classes and learn on the side, where we come in and say, hey, what if we could just plug and play? What if we could bring in our expertise? You do what you do best, and then we help you double the company, if not triple, right? Over a certain amount of years. And then you could get a bigger price than what you would right now for trying to sell it without giving up equity in your company, or giving up a certain percentage of your company as a whole, right? And so these are all options, and these are things that we'll get into in further series, going down the road. But what I want to really dive into now is deal flow, because we know without deals you're dead. And so we can talk about deal flow. We talked about, got on this tangent and got off, but LinkedIn groups are awesome. Get into a LinkedIn group. If you get something from it right away, awesome. Consider yourself one of the lucky ones, because that doesn't always happen. Okay, you need to give them good content, be interactive, reach out to people individually, but be present when you're there. Don't just add yourself and be dormant. Be present, okay? Even if it's sharing an article of sorts that might be interesting to an individual, or if it's just asking or commenting on other people, be present and let yourself be known, okay? If it's subtly or flamboyantly, however you want to go about that. But joining those groups, the way you interact with others can help you sink and or soar, right? So think about what you want here in the future and what you're looking to accomplish, and kind of reverse engineer that and say, well, what are the tasks I can do today to help move that needle to get me there, right? So however that approach wants to be, I developed value with the first individual I did this with. I developed value by bringing them deal flow, knowing what they wanted, and said, okay, what they want is what I want right now. They want such and such company size, such and such employees, return, a willing seller, all these different things. And it's like, okay, I will find that for you and I will bring that to you. And they're like, well, if you can, great. I'm all ears. I'll look at anything you bring at me that's within those parameters. And I bring them these deals, and let's say worst case scenario, I bring them these deals and they don't even go through. They just say, hey, you're a worker, you're a go-getter, okay? Because you've already, if you've read the 80-20 rule or heard of that book, or haven't, you know that you're within the 4% if you're actually going out and doing the work, right? And that's some of the hardest part, is actually just doing the work. If you haven't, you need to go read it. It's great. But what I say is choose to be in that 4%. Go out, find what they're looking for, bring that to them in value, and then as you've created that value and as they see that and it becomes real for them, their wheels and their brain are going to start spinning. Be like, hey, what if I had this guy, and we work together instead of being competitors, and what you're able to do, and you'll know when the time is right. But when what you can do is go to them and say, hey, I would like to work with you, you know, and approach them that way. I really love what you do, how you're able to bring deals across the line. You're really great at structuring deals, and that's not my strength. But I'd really appreciate it. I'd love to have you as a mentor, and with that, I feel the value that I can bring you would be bringing you deals that are within your parameters. Qualified sellers that are interested in selling or possible strategic partnership. And my goal would be to get you on the phone with those people and put a couple on your calendar each week, you know? And I haven't come across anyone that said no. Now, people are like, well, Matt, what if, this? And it all goes back to bring them value. It doesn't specifically have to be in the deal, but maybe you're great at looking at the books, or have some type of template where you can run the deal criteria through very quickly and let them know, yeah, this deal's viable. We can do this. So bring value to the table for said mentor. Okay, for that mentor that you would like to be the mentee of. Okay. There's another way to find deals, and it's an interesting way, and I don't hear of a ton of people doing it. But if you want businesses that business owners might be not necessarily distressed, right, but might be done. Like there's like I'm done with my business. It's too mundane, it's repetitive, and they maybe don't see a way out. And so how would you find those people or identify those people, right? So look within your industry, right? Or if you're looking for someone to create value, you can search on Google and search specifically, just be like, hey, you know what? I want to see websites that are 5 to 10 years old, HTML only, right? And so these are websites that haven't been updated or enhanced in any way, where it's like, it's an older website. Most likely it's an older, or it's a business where there's been interests that have been lost through advertising or things along those lines. Or maybe I don't know if they're just getting by, or if they're just relying on certain other avenues. But it usually, if someone's not promoting online nowadays, it's either a very special circumstance, or at the same time, there's not a lot of interest there. And so I've had some success in just saw this recently from a mentor of mine, going out and searching out these businesses and stuff, and just had some success already of people saying, yeah, I'd be interested in selling. Okay, awesome. Well, let's set a time. Here's my calendar, and I'd send them a calendar link, right? Just to set up on my calendar to speak, and we're off to the races, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do this, to actually bring in deal flow. But just remember, the magic is speaking to the business owner. The magic is speaking to the owner themselves, and not going through a broker or an intermediary. The magic is being able to talk to them and know in 20 minutes or less, is this warrant further conversation, or should we, go on to the next, without any hard feelings. So there's magic in that. It seems when you bring in a broker, it just draws out that it just draws everything out longer, and there's back and forth. And I've seen a lot of, especially in today's market, the brokers turn it into a bidding war. So much so that sometimes owners just get fed up and say, you know what, I'll just keep my business, and maybe in a couple of years we'll do something. I've seen too many deals destroyed, with brokers that don't practice what they preach. And I've met a lot of great brokers out there, but there's far more out there that are just looking for the next commission. And unfortunately, it's not always of the needs of the seller, but it's what the broker is going to get out of it. So, if you are a business owner that wants to sell, I would be leery about going to a broker. And if you do go to a broker, it's not bad. They definitely can help expose your business out there, sometimes in ways you don't want to. So just be clear on what they're doing. But we'll talk about this on another segment. But just make sure that you're in a non-exclusivity contract with them. But we'll cover this more on the next time. But if there's any questions, feel free to just comment below, reach out. We're here to answer any questions you have. But we'll continue some other segments here on deal flow, what to do if you're selling your business, but also on the buy side. Have a great day. Happy deal hunting.